We are here to tell about the history of Congregation Bnai Yeshurun, which is going to celebrate their 50th year this year. We came to Teaneck with the knowledge, somebody told us that there is an Orthodox Synogogue here. When we came, finally moved into our house and went to the place where they told us about the minyan, to our disappointment, we looked into the window. We saw there was men and women sitting together. That means this is not an Orthodox synagogue. Sabbas looked at me and said, "What now?" We'll have to do the best we can. We just moved in. And we had very nice neighbors, although they were not religious at all. At that point, we met some other people here that were anxious to have a synagogue, an Orthodox synagogue. And we decided to call Yeshiva University office and find out from them how should we go about starting a new congregation which will be Orthodox. Saba called Yeshiva University the next morning, and a man by the name of Victor Geller came to us, and we were at that time 5 families were interested in doing this. Those 5 families were Mr. Grunman, Mr. Landau, Mrs. Kapetnikov, we, Saba and me, and Mr. Braverman, who used to live in Teaneck at that time. Well, we met with this man, Mr. Geller, and he said, the way, if you want to establish a synagogue, Orthodox synagogue in Teaneck, all you have to do is this. First of all, find a place. At that moment, Mrs. Kapitnikov raised her hand and she said, "I will give my basement." The next thing you have to do, he said, is to have a Sefer Torah. Then Saba raised his hand and he said, "Well, I will bring a Sefer Torah from our Nanishev's company in Jersey City. We have a synagogue there, and they will lend me a Sefer Torah." And then 10 Sidurim we need, he said. Of course, we'll buy it. And he said 10 men. We knew that. Well, this was the beginning of our synagogue, which is now Bnai Yeshurun. As we are standing right now and taking this picture and listening to what I'm saying, we are standing right in front of Lillian Kapitnikov's home, which is the home that we started our first minyan in 1958, Parshat Shlach. We found a small house on the corner of West Englewood Avenue and Jefferson, and we bought that house. The whole house cost us $20,000, which was amazing. We were just 10 families at that time, but everybody cooperated, and we had to adjust it to make it into a synagogue. We are now standing in front of the building, and with me is Mr. Landau, Manny Landau, one of our first congregants, a very important and very lovely, wonderful person.
I was a good friend of Saba, and I'm very supportive of his efforts to keep the shul going the way he was interested in doing it as a caring and loving community, exactly, and not just a business.
Sarah Malka Manischewitz, who was Daddy's mother, she donated a chair for, as a matter of fact, 2 chairs for the rabbi and for the president to sit. These are the chairs that they used to use in their in their dining room in Cincinnati, and also it came with them to New York. And those chairs are still in the synagogue until today. And Stanley Marcus made a little gold plaque on the chair to show that this was in memory of Saba Dov Ber Nemeshevitz. We also had the beautiful Ner Talmid that was given to us by Aunt Natalie and Herman Gross. They were moving, so we adjusted it into a Ner Talmid, and as a matter of fact, the Ner Talmid is still hanging in this brand new shul after 50 years almost. You see this? This was made by hand by a carpenter in Cincinnati, Ohio. Zvi Hirsch. He had in shul, he had a stand that he used to put his siddur on it, and it's called a standard. A stender. In Yiddish they call it a stender. I got a very nice carpenter right here in Bergenfield, and he redid the whole thing. It was faded and so on. He couldn't get over it. He said, I don't believe you, but somebody made this in the 1920s. I said, yes, he did. Today, Teaneck has 13 Orthodox shuls. It's a very gratifying feeling. It's a wonderful feeling to know that, well, Teaneck is on the map now. When I'm thinking and looking around today, nowadays, I can't get over this whole era that happened right since we moved to Teaneck. I remember there were days that Saba and I used to walk on Cedar Lane, and Saba used to, at the beginning, and used to point to me and said, oh, look, look, there's somebody walking there with a kippah. Well, years later, he used to point to me and said, look, look, somebody's walking without a kippah.